Okay, great. I want to thank everybody for coming out for the council workshop. Tonight, we're going to be hearing about some of the fire issues that we've had up there in the 224. So it's starting off, we have Forest Service with Jackie. So Jackie, I'm going to let you take it away and kind of give us your take on it.
All right, thank you so much. Hopefully you can all hear me all right.
We sure can, thank you.
Oh, good, good. Well, first off, I want to thank the Estacada City Council for this opportunity to share information with you about the Riverside and Lions Head fires on the Clackamas River Ranger District. We are grateful to be here tonight. I just wanted to share a little bit of information before Rachel gets us started. I'm here as the acting deputy forest supervisor for the Mount Hood National Forest. Normally my position is the district ranger for the Clackamas River Ranger District, but I'm filling in as we're seeking to fill our deputy forest supervisor position, and Rachel Lamedica has graciously stepped into the district ranger role on the Clackamas River Ranger District in the interim. So we'll be in these temporary assignments until probably about June, and then we'll go back to our normal positions. So just wanted to clarify our roles here. And with that, Rachel's gonna do the bulk of the talking tonight, but we're happy to tag team on the questions and answers that may follow. So with that, Rachel, I'll hand it over to you. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jackie. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. And can you see my presentation?
Not yet.
It says I'm sharing the screen.
There you go. It just came up.
Okay. Hopefully we won't have too much of a lag. I have to admit I got a little bit nervous tonight as that little storm came in. I don't know if you all saw that, but my flag outside was flipping around like crazy, and I made my husband run out and grab it and bring it in really quick because I was a little bit nervous about that and the power going out again. But thankfully it didn't, so here we are. So thank you, Mayor Drinkwine and the City Council members for inviting us to talk to you tonight a little bit about some of the impacts of the fires on the Clackamas River Ranger District. For those of you that I don't know, I know several of you. I just wanted to make sure you all knew that I'm local to Estacada. I grew up here my whole life. The majority of my family is here and I still live here now. And so I went through these fires right along with you as a community member over the last 6 months. I noticed today when I was putting together this presentation that today is the exact 6-month anniversary of the fire, with it having started on September 8th and this being March 8th. So just to give you a general overview of what I'm going to talk about tonight, I've just got about 14 slides. Most of them are pictures, so don't worry. I just want to kind of recap the general overview of the fire impacts to our forest and specifically to the Clackamas River Ranger District, and then give you a little bit of an idea of the things that we're really focusing on this year in order to recover from those impacts. And then per your request, I'm gonna focus in on some of the recreation issues that we encountered because of these fires. And then I can't really talk about the recreation impacts without overviewing some of our road closures and how those are gonna impact access to recreation this season. And so just as a quick point of clarification to check the process, would you all prefer for me to get through the presentation, for all of the partners to get through their presentations and then do Q&A at the very end, or do you want to do Q&A as we go along?
Well, we'll probably do Q&A as you finish. That way there's not so much to remember at the end. So we'll let you do your presentation and then we'll hit you with some questions at the end.
Okay, great. I'll try to zip through these quickly. I know we're limited on time. So this graphic here is just kind of a representation of all of the different fires we had on the forest this year. And it does a good job of kind of illustrating, in my mind, all of the different ways that and places that these fires impacted our area. The Clackamas River Ranger District is about 400,000 acres. 440,000 acres, and about 100,000 acres were impacted. And so I know this is a little bit tough to see, and there aren't roads on here, but you know, the river essentially is kind of along this eastern side of the Riverside fire, and then it comes down through here. And this is the Olali Lakes area down in this bottom corner. And then the Willamette National Forest starts at this southern border. And then of course over here to the east is our tribal lands of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. So the two major fires that really affected us were the Riverside fire and the Lion's Head fire. And I just pulled together some quick facts about these fires for your, just again, review. As you all know, the Riverside was reported on September 8th. It's human caused at this time. It's still being investigated, and we're hopeful to have some more information on that soon. The total size of it was 138,000 plus acres, and 85.6 of that was on the Mount Hood National Forest. The status was deemed controlled as of February 14th. We are just waiting on a final flyover to confirm that it is officially out, and that should be scheduled in the next couple of weeks. I just added in this last fact because I think the structure loss in this fire was really substantial and impactful for our employees and for our staff, and just it is going to take us a long time to clean that up and rebuild from some of that. I won't read through all of the Lion's Head facts, but just know that about 17,000 of that was on Mount Hood National Forest land. And of course, the majority of those impacts were there in the Olali, the far southeast corner of our district. But no structures were lost in that area. Okay, so this is a satellite imagery taken, and hopefully it's coming through in a timely manner, just before the fires. And I put this in here to kind of give you an idea of the scale of the impact that we're facing right now. You can see the mountain peak proper up here in the top right corner. And again, this area down here is the Olali Lakes area. This is our Bull the Woods Wilderness, if you're familiar with that. Timothy Lake is here, and this is the Riverside fire and the Lion's Head fire over here. And so then this image is what it looked like after the fires. And all of these areas where you're now seeing brown, and in some places it's actually almost black instead of green, are areas where we know we're going to have substantial tree mortality and that there's going to be significant safety hazards on the landscape. So if those areas include roads, they're going to be closed for a while. And we'll have to reassess as we go along as to when exactly we'll be able to reopen them. So this is kind of a zoom in of that picture, and I chose this particular aerial flight picture because it might have some landmarks that are familiar to you. There's the old Memaloose way station here in the bottom left corner of the picture, and this is about 3.5 miles after Promontory Park. And then for a little bit further in is our Lazy Bend area. This is the first campground that the Forest Service has on the highway as you're coming up. And then of course up here in this top corner is the old quarry that may be better known to you due to it being the ignition point of the 36 pit fire back in 2014. So again, and I'm sure Anna will get into this in her presentation, it's just such a significant impact of these slopes and these dead trees and the safety hazards that they are realizing for our roads. So for 2021, we're really focused on safety, and I don't say that flippantly at all. Personal safety for our employees and our partners who are working out on the landscape. We know there's a lot of work to be done, and this is our first field season post-fire, so we're really trying to be realistic about what we can do so everybody can go home to their families at night. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we're also still managing the whole rest of the forest that I showed you in that first slide. And we are experiencing significant increase in visitation due to the pandemic. People are staying more local. And so we know we have a very busy season ahead of us, and we're trying to balance that with our needs to address some of these fire recovery issues. Of course, a big priority for us too in regards to safety is for the public. When we reopen a road, we're essentially saying that it is safe for people to go there, and we have to be sure, and we're not going to do that until we are sure. Of course, a big focus for us is going to be supporting our partners at ODOT in the Highway 224 reopening, consulting with them on policy and safety and security, and then removal of the materials that they are taking care of along that corridor. We're also trying to minimize our impact so that they can accomplish their work unimpeded without us constantly coming in and out. So that's further delaying our ability to recover the areas that we'd like to recover. Of course, after 224 reopening would be the Forest Road 46, which is the road that continues through the forest on down to Detroit. Many of you will know it kind of starts around right after the Ripplebrook store area is where that road starts, and it's a really popular route. We know I ride it every summer with my husband on his motorcycle. It's one of our favorite rides. It's a beautiful, amazing ride, and we know how important it is to everybody. But it has been impacted by the fire, and we don't anticipate that it will open this year. It's not only impacted by the fires on our forest, but the fires on the Willamette National Forest to the south. And they have a little bit more, I think, to take care of than we do. But we will still have quite a bit to do to reopen that fully all the way through to Detroit. So in total, aside from Forest Road 46, we have a total of 220 miles worth of roads that we know we have to deal with. And of course, as we'll get into a little bit, administrative and recreation sites, we have critical health and safety issues we're working to take care of in those sites, and our ongoing responsibility for resource protection to ensure that we're not impeding any other issues on the landscape, and accounting for things like flooding, landslides, and sedimentation that can damage critical threatened and endangered species habitat and drinking water. And then if we can get all of that done, we know that we have to start our process for long-term restoration and recovery planning, which is going to be a really long process. Specific to the recreation impacts in the fire perimeter, here are the numbers that we've most recently come up with that we've been able to account for. We know we have 12 campgrounds, 4 boat access points, 3 of those are operated by PGE, and if Tony makes it on, he can speak to those. 3 day use sites and 9 trails and trailheads in the Clackamas River, and then a handful of other things here in the Olallie and South area. We know that we have to address these safety issues before we can open any of these campgrounds. And with the exception of maybe Ladee Flat, we do not believe that any of these sites, with the exception of Ladee Flat and the boat access points operated by PGE, we do not believe that we'll be able to reopen any of these sites in 2021. There's just too much to take care of. Hazmat has to be removed, hazardous trees have to be removed. Some of them have water supply issues that have to be dealt with, other infrastructure replacement needs, and for the trails, we have many that need bridge replacements or trail stabilization before they'll be safe. And so we expect pretty much the entirety of the Riverside fire, like I said, with just a few exceptions, to remain closed throughout 2021. These are just a couple of photos of one of Indian Henry Campground and one of Riverside Trail, with a couple of the trail bridges that have burned. So then the last kind of thing I'll speak to here is our closure order. I know this map is difficult to see But you can find it here, and I can send you a link directly after I'm done in the chat on our website. And it really, this map kind of gives you an idea of the impacts beyond just the fire perimeter. Our road system is incredibly complex and interconnected, and this is actually a simplified map that doesn't actually show all of the roads. It only shows the main ones. And so when we open one road, it opens 4 or 5 other roads that take people back into the fire perimeter. And so we're working through that process now to figure out where we can do that. We feel pretty confidently that Timothy Lake will be able to open on time, their May 28th target date. We have a hazardous tree assessment happening this week at Ladee Flat, and we think we're feeling pretty good about that area as well, but we won't know for sure until they go out there to do that assessment. Harriet Lake, the decision is still pending because that's in one of those areas where we have to put in a few other closures, but it's a high priority for us. And then the Olali area, we still haven't been able to access and still needs to be assessed. And so unfortunately, the bad news is that though these areas may be able to be accessed, it isn't likely that they're going to be accessed through the 224 corridor and through Estacada, which I know is important. And this next slide kind of illustrates why. You can see here that these areas that would take you up to the Harriet and Timothy Lake sites are still impacted by fire here in from basically where 224 ends here up to this area and on the 4630. So the 57 and the 4630. And we still have yet to start hazardous tree removal on that road. We do hope to be able to begin that in May sometime. May or June. And so if that happens, we'll have a better sense then of if it will be able to reopen anytime this summer after ODOT has been able to open it, the main stem of the highway. I know I've zipped through these really fast, but I really feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we know there has just been we really focused on recreation impacts for this presentation, but we know there's been a ton of impacts to our partners and our communities, economic losses, things that we can't always see right away. And so it's definitely weighing heavily on us, and we are definitely thinking about how best we can prioritize these things to make sure that we're thinking about them and being thoughtful about how we reopen in a safe manner. So those are all the slides I had. I know that was a ton of information, but as you're all queuing up to answer questions, I'm gonna just flip through a few more photos that I brought to share with you. I'm not gonna talk about them. I'm gonna let you ask your questions, but I just want you to have a chance to view some of them.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, does anybody have some questions for Rachel? I can't see your hand, so you're just gonna have to wing it on there.
All right, I just have a quick one. Rachel, you said that there were a lot of structures that were lost in the Ripplebrook, Timberlake Job Corps, and Three Links. I've spent a lot of time at Three Links. Had friends that lived up there, and how much of that historic spot? Do you know how much of that? How many of those houses still stand, if any? Because that's such a historic place. That's one of the first, first settlements out this way. So.
Yeah, Jerry, I hear you. I spent many a summer up there back in the day when they had a swimming pool, one of the only ones in the area. It was awesome. We had great times up there. Definitely hear your pain and share it with you. Jackie may have to help me answer this one, and we might actually defer to PGE. I can't see if Tony has joined us, but he may know better. That's actually a site that's run by PGE. And so my understanding is they lost all but 5 structures up there, I think. And it's just at a point where it's not salvageable, and it sounds like they're probably going to decommission the rest of the area. It was vacant and abandoned at the time, and so obviously we recognize the sentimental value it has for the community. Like I said, I spent half my childhood up there, so I get it. But it just didn't make it this time.
It's terrible. What about how much loss was there at Ripplebrook and Timberline Job Corps?
So I'm sorry I don't have the list right in front of me. Again, Jackie, I might ask you to chime in on this
Yeah,
one.
I can share a little bit of information about structures lost. So at Lazy Bend, all the structure that was there is completely gone. The Oak Grove area, the old work center, if you're familiar with that, every structure there is gone, including the wooden barn that was there. At Ripplebrook, it was variable. We lost a number of residential quarters. I think the Timberlake Job Corps lost just a couple, but on the Forest Service side, we lost probably 5 or 6. And then at the Ripplebrook Ware Yard, that's what I call it anyway, where the old office used to be, the old district office, we lost the district office, we lost the district warehouse, and we lost the fuel storage facility there. But the other structures that are occupied by the Timberlake Job Corps and our concessionaire for operations at the Ripplebrook store, those structures remain. Our Hella base is intact and our fire station is intact.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Jackie.
Hey, Rachel, would you be able to send these, this, not only just these photos, but the, also the slideshow with the information to us as well? So we can have that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to leave you with this. When I went for my first tour up on the fire area, this was I didn't know what they were called, so I had to Google it, but it is called a loveliness of ladybugs that I found. And it just, it kind of made me feel better in that day when I was feeling, again, a little bit sad and kind of processing the loss. That nature has a way of persevering, and so I just wanted to leave you with that photo, and thank you again for your time. If there aren't any other questions.
Rachel, I do have one more question here.
Oh, sure, Paul.
You had mentioned trails and boat access might not be available for 2021. Would that be no input at the PGE sites then?
No, I believe PGE is going to be able to open at least 2 of their sites that I'm aware of. Did Tony join us? I just, for some reason, can't see everybody on my list. But if I'll let Tony speak to that, but my understanding is Moore Creek and Hole in the Wall are scheduled to reopen, and Sandstone probably will take longer. It's in an area that was more impacted, has a lot more hazard trees in that area.
Okay. I was in a meeting that he had done with the chamber, and he said they'll be ready to go when ODOT gives them the thumbs up. He said that they were largely untouched, spared by the fires. So that was encouraging to hear.
We have one boat access that we operate, Fish Creek, and that did burn, so that will not be accessible.
Bull of the Woods, I'm assuming no access to that area then this coming year?
Paul, we just aren't exactly sure yet. We're hoping so, but it's just hard to tell. That's one of those areas where if we open up that one road, it's the 63 and the 70 road down there. Mm-hmm. It opens up a lot of different side roads that can bring people back up north to the fire. But we're talking about it. It's not off the table yet. I'm not going to say no, but it's a little bit more challenging for us in that area. But I will definitely keep you posted, because I know you like that area, and it is a beautiful place.
Alali, and thank you for that. Alali had sent something out, the resort, saying they're targeting a July 2nd opening. Could that be a possibility then, just access not through the corridor?
Yes, that's what we're hoping. They're also on our list of high priorities, you know, being a concessionaire, a partner of ours, a permit holder. We feel obligated to try and get them open this year as well. And so, yeah, it's hard to say exactly how people will be able to access that. More than likely, they'll have to come, you know, 26 Timothy Lake, kind of the back way, instead of going down the 46.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
And feel free to reach out with me with any individual questions. Always happy to try and get the best answers I can.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel. We appreciate everything you gave us tonight. It gives us hope with these pictures. I see promise there. So we thank you very much. And you did a great job. If there's no other questions, I'm going to move on to the next panelist. The next panelist is Tony Dental. Is he on anywhere?
I don't see him.
All right. Well, I guess we can start with Anna then. Is that okay, Anna?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Anna Henson with ODOT. I'm the North Operations Chief for the wildfire recovery effort. My day job is a project manager for ODOT here in Salem. And I'm excited to be part of getting Oregon back to some sort of normalcy. I hate starting this off with this apology, but was not expecting that I was going to do a presentation, so I do not have one for you. Rachel's was awesome, by the way. Rachel, that was super helpful for me. I didn't really realize like how much a Forest Service is taking on, how much damage there was. So thank you. I'd like to see that presentation too, if you're going to send it out. Thanks. So I'll just give you an update on what ODOT's doing, our work in the corridor, and then I'll answer questions. We've got a really big effort right now, rock scaling, so repairing rocks that are coming loose on our closed portion of the highway. They're still falling. We had one of our monitors kill 2 tires on a car today, so it just has been constant. And so I hear from our geotech folks out of our Region 1 office that they're hoping to have that rock scaling work completed by the end of May. And then we're also working out there in the closed portion, starting to cut hazard trees, assessing hazard trees. We're estimating there's over 110,000 trees. And that's our biggest area for hazard trees and all the fires throughout Oregon. It's a huge lift. So currently they're cutting trees at mile point 45.6, and then they're going to move on up to 48. So it's going fast in the world of tree cutting, but they're battling a lot of things. They're battling steep slopes, and it's dangerous. So they're doing a good job. We're also want to remind folks that we've got lots of log decks within the clear zone of the highway. And so that's another thing that would need to be, really cleared out before we're able to open the highway back up. So I know that's probably the biggest question is, when ODOT is going to open that back up. Our number one priority is safety for the traveling public. And so we've got crews working 6 days a week. That includes the rock scaling crews. The rock scaling crews are actually working on holidays as well to try to get the work done as fast as they can. We have a monitoring consultant out marking hazard trees. And those you'll see with the blue dot and a bar tag at the bottom of the tree to indicate that tree needs to come out. Again, we'll continue working closely with our Forest Service partners. They've been great, and we will not open the highway until it's safe for travelers. And we'll coordinate that with Forest Service to make sure everybody's on the same page, and our district office too that maintains that highway. Let's see, what else would I have for you? I think that's probably kind of an overall what's going on. I could open it up to questions.
All right. Anybody have some questions for Anna?
Just a quick question. Do you guys have any sort of estimation on reduction in traffic that's come out towards Estacada because of the closure up there? So we've seen 50% reduction or what?
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I can find out.
If you could, I think that would help us a lot to kind of know what kind of immediate change we're already seeing from it.
So specifically, what would be our normal traffic rate through there?
Yeah, especially we're looking like because I'm looking at it for tourism on our end. So if we have a normal of X amount of vehicles and we're down to half of that, we know that okay, especially during summertime, then we know we're going to be looking at a reduction of maybe 50% of the traffic coming through for possible tourism or whatever else. So
okay,
so we can kind of see a little bit of that, and also just general who's passing through our town right now.
Okay.
And the reduction of that for who may have gone through, not just up for immediate local tourism, but who may have been passing through normally to head to like Detroit Lake or something. So.
Yeah, I can check in with Region 1 traffic and see if they've got any, like, I think they'd have to have current counts, right? They probably know like historically what's been through there, but I don't know if anybody's done any current counts since it's been closed.
And would it be possible if we don't have current counts going to get something like that going so we can get an idea of what we're going to be expecting? The more numbers we have and the information we have, the better we can have a plan for a lookout.
I can request that.
Good. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Anna. And I see that we have Matt here. And Matt, I'm going to bring you into this conversation. I think you might have some idea, or you've heard where we're standing as far as our tourism. I mean, what kind of effect do you think they're going to have on the tourism dollars that we see here because of the camp areas in the upper 224, upper Clackamas? Are you hearing anything?
I mean, it's hard to see the future, of course, but certainly permit holders like rafting companies, Blue Sky Rafting in particular is quite concerned about their ability to generate revenues this year due to closures. So those that are working on the forest are obviously the most concerned, but then others, our restaurants and other places that rely on that traffic each year for really the lion's share of their income to tide them over through winter time are sharing their concern. So yeah, it's difficult to know what we're projecting at this point. I think the conversation tonight helps color in between the lines a little bit, but it's just hard to know.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody have any other questions for the panelists?
Yeah, I do. Hey, Anna, thanks for talking to us today. I think we'd spoken a couple weeks ago, and at that time, I mean, it was a hopeful targeting of the end of spring, early summer. Is that still the target date? Any changes to that for opening of the highway?
Well, I think again it would be a decision we'd make with the Forest Service and our district folks. I don't know. It seems really aggressive to me. It's a lot of trees, and we've got to get the majority of those trees down, and rock scaling won't be done till end of May. And then once the hazard trees are done, they've got to go back through and sorry, our building lights shut off at this time every night. It's so weird. Anyway, it'll come back on here in a minute. It's creepy. First time it happened, I kind of freaked out. Anyway, sorry. So I think the contractors have a contract through June. And likely that's going to have to get extended, assuming we're not in fire season, One of the things we've talked about just a little bit, is weekend openings or maybe opening by permit. And again, with our partners. So I'm sorry, it may be kind of a staged opening, like where's the most popular access? Could we focus our hazard tree removal work in that area first or up to that area, I mean, we're willing to do that. That is something that we would love to do if someone requested it. You know, if like say you all did, or there was the rafting company that said, hey, you know, we come into this area, we've got fishing guides that come into this area. What do you think about concentrating on that? So that's an option.
Okay, great.
I think Matt, we could probably get some of that some good information, at least, to give you guys some things to chew on over there. Then one of the things that you'd mentioned before that I really hadn't thought about was just the overall condition of the road itself. Could you touch on that?
Yeah, it's in bad condition. And that has to do with a lot of the rocks that have hit the road. We'll take care of that. And so that's the nice thing about coming into summer, because we can do some patching. Weather shouldn't hold us up for doing that. So it's definitely an issue. I don't know exactly what that road looks like as far as condition goes or how much work needs to be done, but some folks that are on scene folks have told me it's pretty bad.
Okay, thank you. Katie, go ahead.
Well, you brought up a great idea. Having some sort of a small council of people really help ODOT prioritize where the high access points are, or high priority access points would be. I know we're just in a workshop right now, but would the staff need something from us to put a council of, it doesn't even have to be like a real committee of people, but would it be possible for the city to host that kind of conversation and invite some partners in certain industries into that conversation and just host it at the city level with ODOT and other, rafting companies and such?
What do you think, Denise? Is that something we could probably do?
Yeah, Matt, do you think you could pull some people together to?
Yeah, we can either have a meeting, or I can just reach out to those who have been reaching out to me and try and get some consensus among those folks about what the focus areas maybe could be or ought to be in their view. They may have a limited vantage point. ODOT may know things that they don't, but we could at least get a wish list from them and then let you all at ODOT let us know what's realistic.
Mm-hmm. I love that idea.
Good.
Love the idea of having the industry leaders and ODOT having that conversation, and just having the city there to host the conversation. But I think that's a absolutely important conversation that sounds like would go a long way. So whatever you need from us to direct that, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Rachel, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to add in that, if you think about the highway as it comes through the forest, just recalling some of those photos that I shared with you, there are hazards on every side of the highway as you go along. And so one of the things that we are tasked with doing this year is something we call burned area emergency response. And these are specific tasks that we have to do in order to make sure that things are safe for the public. So it's putting up warning signs, ensuring that gates are in certain places so the public can't get back into an area that we haven't been able to address the hazard trees yet. So even like recreation, as you know, many of our recreation sites along the highway are just right off the highway. So we've got to make sure that, like, if a toilet burned, that we have it capped and pumped and the hazmat hasn't leaked or done anything. And so I guess I just kind of give that perspective to share that there's a lot of actions that we are working to take right now and over the next several months in order to prepare for this highway opening. And thinking about what that looks like. So any efforts to open it up sooner or on certain days or on the weekends, we'd really need to make sure that those places have all of those, boxes checked in terms of making sure those safety mitigations are in place at those sites.
Thank you for that clarification, Rachel. That's great. That helps us get a better perspective. Anybody else have any questions? Joel?
So I had a question back to Rachel, I think, more than anything. I've had several people ask me, because of the fire, a lot of down trees and stuff. They can get permits throughout the year to get to go and get like firewood and cut it out of the. So is something like that going to be opened back up, because there are a lot of trees down? They want to know if there's going to be areas that they can look at you know, kind of a at your own risk type of thing or something?
Yeah, I might actually ask Jackie to help me with this one. This is a challenging one for us because the areas we would normally allow people to go in and do that are going to be these areas that we were just talking about that are just not safe right now. And it's actually, we were just talking about this today because it's almost too, it's frustrating for us because it's actually really helpful for us when people go out and gather firewood because they actually clear our roads for us and then take the wood. And so we're trying to figure that out. We do have some ideas and workarounds, but we're not exactly sure yet where they'll be able to do that. It'll probably actually be more in the areas that weren't impacted by the fire that we're going to be able to allow that, but there should still be plenty of opportunities there.
Okay.
Jackie, did I miss anything?
No, I think you captured it well. I guess I would just remind people of the significant windstorm and then also the ice storm that we had recently, and that parts of the forests that are outside of the closure area will be open for firewood permits and cutting. And so, you know, we're having conversations right now about how we're going to manage that this year on the forest.
Good, Jerry. Do you have something?
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking about how, you know, in the summertime I like to go up the forest roads and, you know, just tool around and stuff. Has there been any thoughts, like especially in the Lottie Flats area, has there been any thoughts of maybe inviting some of these four-wheel drive clubs to lend a hand, volunteer to come up and help clean up the area and stuff? I'm sure that you know, I know they volunteer for stuff like that every year, and I'm sure there'd be some clubs out there that would want to join in on that if as long as it was safe.
Thanks for the question, Jerry. In my real job on the forest, what I actually do is I'm the partnership and volunteer coordinator. So this is something I've thought a lot about, and it is something that we strive to do. And we have lots and lots of people who are interested in helping. In times of crisis like this, it is the most fundamentally good thing about a difficult time is that you always have the helpers who come afterwards who want to be a part of it. I don't know that we'll have very many opportunities in 2021 because we are so focused on these really high priority issues, but I think we are definitely interested in how they can help us more in 2022. And we have lots of ideas, and I have lots of plans to apply that good energy wherever I can.
Good, thank you, Rachel. Tony Dental has joined us, so I'm going to give him the floor. PGE, and go ahead, Tony. Give us a little input.
Hi, folks. Sorry I'm late joining you. You know, I'm sorry I missed a little bit of this at the start of this, so I'm not sure how much I can add as to the timing of things opening up. That's really a Forest and ODOT call. I will say, in respect to the idea of maybe trying to do some kind of stage opening, maybe get some different things open. And I know there's a lot of interest from the boating community to get into those river access sites that we operate on the forest. I'll just say that pull us into that so that we're working and we can do what we can to prepare those sites so that it lines up with the highway opening up. I do think we're in pretty good shape. We're fortunate that those river access sites weren't damaged extensively. So we're willing to do what we can to kind of get those open as quick as the highway allows people in there.
Okay. And just a little question for me. How did Promontory fare in this whole thing? I mean, is it overall intact all the way around? And
yeah, again, I feel pretty blessed. There's a stand of trees between the highway and the campground that needed to be removed, that were destroyed. But for the most part, the campground itself was hardly affected, nor was the marina, just some of that area right off the highway. So everything there is up and working.
Have you had an impact to the fish population? I know with all the sediment and stuff coming in, have you had any?
That's a question for a fish biologist, but I would guess that's going to take a little while before they'll be able to answer that question.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have some questions for Tony Dental? Okay, there's Jerry and then Joel.
Hey, Tony. So they answered my question about three links earlier, but just plant a seed. If with as historic as those buildings are up there at Three Links, I understand that it's going to be permanently shut down. Maybe there would be an option to relocate if any of the good standing homes, just because of the historical value. Hopefully there could be something done there. I know it'd be really hard to get a home out of there to relocate it, but hopefully something can be done, because that area does have a lot of history, and maybe something can be preserved in that area, but hopefully something will be done there.
Yeah, it's tragic that all those homes are gone like that. I know early on I worked with who is it, Emmert, that moves homes, and brought him up to take a look at that as a possibility, and maybe there was a way to do it, and they didn't come back with any good solutions. We might be, I don't know if Jackie wants to speak to this, we might be a ways down the road as far as that whole decommissioning plan, but perhaps there's a hope to do something. I'll put a bug in someone's ear there about it at my office. But I know there's an extensive photographic history captured, so that's not ideal, but there is a really good history there that's captured, at least that way.
Thank you, sir. Joel, did you have something?
Yeah, so the road that's between the lower, good golly, the lower dam and the upper dam, there's like a side road that kind of usually you can ride.
Faraday Road.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the name of it. Is that gonna be opened at all anytime soon? Or
yeah, we just opened it actually. So we opened it up just at the end of last week. Quite a popular place. Yeah, we were watching it really carefully, worried about slides, and once we felt safe enough to allow public in there, people have they're using it now. Down at the lower launch area, we call it the lower launch. It's where Faraday hits at the eastern end. That's on the North Fork Reservoir. There's a launch site there. That's an area that we're still going to have to close part of it off. That's the area where the debris coming down the river, coming down into the lake, it gets captured, and we have to pull it out of the reservoir right there. So there's a lot of equipment around. That'll come in phases. So if it just becomes a big operation, we might have to close that access point down again. But right now it's open, so you can go through from highway to highway.
Excellent.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Tony? I want to thank all of our panelists for coming out tonight and keeping us informed and letting the people know. This is great for all of us. It gives us more information to pass along, and you're all doing a great job, and we respect everything that you do. So thank you for everything. And we appreciate having you with us tonight. So thank you.
Thank you for
You
having
too.
us.
Yeah, thanks. Take care, everyone.
You
A
too.
quick question for Mayor and Council. Would you all like to see a meeting organized with stakeholders to have this conversation about a potential staged or iterative opening with ODOT, or would you just as soon rather have staff coordinate via email and phone and just talk to ODOT directly?
It's a good question. How do the councils feel about that? Would you like an in-person or more of a email type situation?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. So even if it's not like a physically in-person, minimal a Zoom meeting where the stakeholders have an opportunity to speak directly to ODOT and ask any questions that they might have of ODOT. I just want to make sure that we're opening that door for the stakeholders to have a direct conversation with ODOT if they want to have it. Obviously, if you invite them to have a conversation and they say, you know what, I'd rather have this conversation over email, then at least you've opened up that door too. But I think that giving the stakeholders an opportunity to address ODOT directly, ask the questions that they have, them learn if they need to learn, and maybe put a bug in the ear of ODOT if that's what they want to do, if that's what their purpose is. Having that conversation, I think, is important.
Okay, Anna, you have something to say?
Yeah, I think we're definitely willing to do that, but I would request that if Matt and whoever else can like gather that information from those groups first, still happy to answer questions, but we need to make sure that everybody's on the same page before we have that meeting. So
Sure.
that, I think that would be really, really helpful. And then I would also ask that you invite PGE and Forest Service too to that meeting, because that's, they're our partners and that needs to be a concerted effort.
Most definitely.
Okay, thank you.
So does that give you direction, Matt, my friend?
I think so. Sounds like we want to coordinate a Zoom meeting where the public and especially economic stakeholders can be heard and ask questions.
That's what I'm hearing. So thank you. And again, thank you all. So I'll let you get on with your evening and have a nice one. And you have about 5 minutes before the council meeting. So if you want to take a break, we're about there. So.